spent a lot of time creating these objects, labeling them to understand where everything is at for the purposes of setting up our model. Now what we're going to do is we're going to actually break this back down and combine all of these into one single object to mirror over. But before we do that, what we're going to do is we're going to create a duplicate of this so that we have it if we want to go back and model again from this base model that we just created. We have that. And to do that, I'm going to click on the middle mouse button where the scroll wheel is there, and what that does is it actually selects the parent and all the children of that object. And then what I'm going to do is hit Alt-G on my keyboard and put all of that under a null. I'm going to label that right side. Right, so what we're going to do is we're going to create a duplicate of this that we will then break down. So again, if I ever need to come back to this, say if something happens to my model that I'll be combining, I have access back to these objects that I took the time to create. And so I can modify them, change the joint, make one of the joints a T-joint as opposed to just a basic simple hinge joint. And so we have that, and we can turn that on and off actually in our window. And to do that, what we're going to do is click on this, and then if we see over here on the right side of that window of the Objects Manager, there's a little search button, there's a little home button here, and then there is also an eyeball. And what that does is it allows us to see and turn off and turn on different objects. As you can see, then right up above here, it'll pop up when I turn that on. And you can see objects in here. It shows all the objects that we have. And we can turn all of those off or on. But we can also add a new layer to this. And that's what we're going to do here. By clicking on this big circle, what I'm going to do is add to new layer. And that creates a blue object in there. And so now if you see under layers, I have undefined objects. If I click that eyeball there, it actually turns off the one we just copied. And the blue one here, as you can see where it says right side, if I turn that off, that's the original one we have. So we're going to go ahead and turn that off so we don't mess with it anymore, but it is available to us if we need it. Alright, we'll just click the eye again to close that, and we're going to use this one, and we're going to combine everything. So first thing that we need to do is select all of our objects here that we want to make editable. And hold down my command key to do that. And again, these are our parametric primitives. I can make those all editable. If you see it looks like a little polygon object, obviously it's already editable. Alright. Again, I can also just middle click and select all the children of that null. Same with the arm. So again, various ways to approach doing things here in Cinema 4D. So what I'm going to do now is select everything, shift select top to bottom, or again all I have to do is middle click on that right side top, and I'm going to go up here where it says Objects, and I'm going to click Connect and Delete. Now everything that we've created is all under one object. Alright, so now when we animate this, when we set up our joint system, we have to select certain polygons and assign them to certain joints. And we'll talk to that more about that when we get into the setting up the joint rig for this. But right now, what we need to do to mirror this over is we need to select, or we need to knife halfway down the middle of our body here. And to do that, we're going to use the right side. Right? So I'm going to make that large. And you can kind of see we need to go right here on this green line and knife it. So I've selected my object. I'm going to go to Use Polygon Tool. I'm going to hit K on the keyboard and make sure restrict to selection is turned off. I'm going to create that loop right there about on the green line. Alright, the next thing I want to do is get my rectangle selection tool. Make sure only select visible elements is turned off. Use the edge tool to do this. So again, click outside, drag around, and right before I get to the middle line, I don't want to go over it or on it, I want to go right before it. Click and hold. Now when I delete those, and we look in perspective mode, I have deleted those objects. But as you can see here, that we still have an object that's visible on the right side. What that is it's the one that we put in the layer browser and turned off. So what we need to do is make that one also not visible in the render and the display. So we click these little buttons and you can see now that shut that off. So that's something you could do beforehand. It's something I forgot to tell you to do. I'm going to go ahead and click that layer back off, click the eye, and now we're on the right side. Now we can mirror this object over. Alright, to mirror this object over, I've got the right side selected. I go to Structure, Mirror, and just like we did with a fork in our earlier exercises, I'm going to be modeling this on the, I could use the world scene because I'm right in the middle. I could also use the object scene. I'm going to go ahead and use world, make sure that weld points is selected because it's going to weld those points as we join it. And right now it has it on the XY axis. We want that on the ZY axis. I'm going to click right in the middle of my object there where that line is, and it's going to drag, it's going to pull out a symmetry of that model and also weld those points together. So let's go down pretty close here and take a look and see how well it did on welding those points. Had a little bit of a problem here. If you look at the bottom where it's beveled a bit, those points didn't weld. So I'm going to hit Command Z and back up, and I'm going to turn up the tolerance of my weld points to 0.1. And let's see how well that mirrors this time. Select my mirror tool from the structure or from the ready objects, recent objects. Click and hold. And it still looks like we're not welding those points together very well. So let's increase that tolerance one more time, Command Z, and this time I'm going to turn it up to 10 centimeters and see what that does. Click Apply, and it looks like it got everything within that 10 centimeters of our object. I'm going to rotate around it here. And that looks pretty good. Excellent. So again, you have to be careful with the tolerance because sometimes you can weld points you don't want to weld, but we really didn't have anything too close within there that would weld points. The only thing we'd have to worry about were those extrusions we had made earlier for the shoulders and the hips, and those were a little further out than the 10 centimeters that we had designated. So again, play around with it, try something, put in a number. If it doesn't work, Command Z to get back and try another one. That would be the best way. Now if you notice here, our axes is clear over here. We want to put our axes for our object right in the middle. So let's go ahead and set that up before we do anything else. I'm going to click on my axis tool, and we look pretty good here, but I want to drag it over in the front menu, whoops, space bar, and live selection. Again, use axis tool. I'm going to move that into the middle of my object, and that's pretty good. So now if I want to rotate around, it rotates actually around my object now. So, right, so the next thing we're going to do is add a head, and we'll do that in the next video.